स्वरूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभयेव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। So welcome everyone back to this series of lectures which we are discussing on the 24 different spiritual masters as mentioned by the Avaduta Brahmana called Dattatreya, and he is mentioning this to the king called Yadu. So Krishna in turn is instructing Uddhava about this narration. In Srimad Bhagavatam, in Mahabharat, in Ramayana, in all these scriptures, we see a very important aspect. What is the important aspect that we see? The important aspect that we see is that all these are conversations. These are all questions and answers. Questions and answers asked by different devotees unto their spiritual perceptors, unto their spiritual masters. And when these questions are put forward, the answers are given by the spiritual perceptors or the spiritual acharyas or the spiritual masters. This is the way of Vedic learning. Vedic learning is through Shabda Praman. We have seen in our foundational classes of Krishna consciousness that how the various Anumana and Pratyaksha Praman, these two are not very conducive for acquiring knowledge. Pratyaksha Praman means seeing is believing, perceiving through our senses. Like, for example, we have to see certain things to believe. Otherwise, many people do not believe on certain facts. So, if you go and tell them there is God, they will say, first show me God, then only I will believe. There are certain sectors of people who actually fall in this category. So, Srila Prabhupada has sufficiently explained that how, out of the four defects that we have as a human being, one of the defects that we have out of the four is that our senses are limited in nature. What does that mean? Our eyes cannot see after a particular distance. Our ears cannot hear beyond a certain range of frequencies. Our nose cannot smell, or it goes into a different smell, or it goes into a different it gets influenced by either strong odor or strong fragrance, and the real fragrance or the real odor is not able is sometimes uh, not capable of processing it. Similarly, taste, when you eat gooseberry or avla and then you drink water, though the tart or the sour amla suddenly starts feeling sweet. So, all these are limited nature of our senses due to which we cannot acquire knowledge through pratyaksha praman. Neither we can acquire knowledge through anumana. Anumana means dry speculation or just a position of certain ideas together to form a theory. For example, if you see a smoke somewhere, we know, we can anuman, though we cannot see the fire, we know that there will be fire. But not always this anumana is correct. So hence the Vedic science always talks about the very fact that we always have to learn the spiritual science through Shabda Praman, that which is coming through a disciplic succession, that which is coming through one person after the other, and which is realized by a spiritual master. So, here in this case, also Uddhava, who is a student, who is a disciple, he is asking, though he is a very good uh, intimate cousin, as well as he is always staying with Krishna in Dwaraka, and he knows that Krishna is going to disappear and this pastime is going to happen. He is submissively inquiring. So, this conversation is always very important. Conversations and questions and answers is what we get spiritual knowledge. That is why in the Krishna consciousness um, era, or in the Krishna consciousness movement that Srila Prabhupada has set up, always after every lecture we have a slot for question and answers. If we as participants do not ask question and answers in the thought process that what will others think, or what is the what will happen, what people might feel that I have not listened to the lecture carefully, these are all wrong thoughts. Even any question, that is even the most simplest of the questions, might be for others, but there will be always some spirit souls who have the same line of questioning. So even the simplest of questions are good questions. There are no questions which are dumb questions. Because even in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we do hear Parikshit Maharaj has heard many stories and he knows the conclusion of many stories, but he still asks the same question again for the benefit of others. So, question and answers, if they are not there, we would have not got these scriptures. So, if Arjuna would have not asked questions to Krishna, we would never get the very graduation of spiritual science, which is Bhagavad Gita. If Parikshit Maharaj would have not asked the questions to Sukdev Goswami, we would have never got Srimad Bhagavatam. If Vaishampayan would have never asked the question, then and Janmajay and Vaishampayan, they would have not had the conversation, we would have never got Mahabharat. Similarly, if Valmiki would have not asked the question about his shlokas, we would have not got Ramayana. So we see that everywhere this question and answer is important. Similarly, following in the same footsteps, Uddhava is asking Krishna, and Krishna is narrating this entire instruction to Uddhava based on a conversation of question and answers between Yadu and Avaduta Brahmana. So we have been seeing over the past few weeks the top gurus of Avaduta Brahmana. He is actually seeing Mother Nature and he is getting inspired to get many realizations. Last week we saw the instructions or the spiritual master that he takes, and who was it? None other than the moon. And he speaks about how the waxing and waning of the moon happens, and we in detail we saw the relationship with Krishna and how Krishna very lovingly plays with his gopis as well as his mother, asking for the moon itself as the butterball. So all these pastimes we saw, and you also found out more nectar from Bhagavad Gita and all other sources of more verses on moon. In fact, it is a very compiled version. Some of the shlokas that I really liked, one of them sent by Ruturaj, which I really liked the shloka which mentions about the moon. So all these are very beautiful shlokas on the moon. So slowly as we reflect, we should also go back and read these verses. And in our day-to-day life, we come across these living entities or these personalities or these objects that we see in the day-to-day life. So whenever we see you have to remember. And that is how we do Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Nityam Krishna Smaranam, that we always remember about Krishna. So today, the Avaduta Brahmana is going to go ahead of the moon, and he is going to introduce the other counterpart. The counterpart, in fact, not the counterpart, the source himself from where moon gets the light. Moon reflects the light of the sun, and we saw how Srila Jiva Goswami mentions in the verse where the moon is the spiritual master, that the sun is a fiery planet and the moon is a watery planet. So, similarly, we will see today the spiritual master who is called as the sun. So, without further ado, let's just um, go ahead and let's just learn the verse. I hope you can see the verse on your screen. The verse is Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 7th chapter, 50th verse. Let's first read the verse. गुणैर्गुणानुपादत्ते यथा कालं विमुञ्चति न तेषु युज्यते योगी गोभिर्ग इव गोपतिः. Translation: just as the sun evaporates large quantities of water by its potent rays and later returns the water to the earth in the form of rain, similarly, a saintly person accepts all types of material objects with his material senses, and at the appropriate time, when the proper person has approached him to request them, he returns such material objects. Thus, both in accepting and giving up the objects of the senses, he is not entangled. Such a very nice verse where gunai is the word which is used here. Gunai means by his senses. Gunan means material sense objects. So here the exact meaning of the verse is mentioned here. It's mentioned that just like the sun has a very peculiar property. When the sun rises, the sunshine is there throughout the day. And when it is there throughout the day, there are many, many parts of water bodies which are there here and there. Some ponds, some lakes, some puddles, some small muddy water, some small collection of water in a water pot, some collection of water on the mud pots of the plants, drops of water on the leaf. The sunlight falls on all these forms of water. And what does the sunlight do? The sunlight evaporates all these forms of water. And all these forms of water evaporates and they go and become the big clouds. And what happens when the clouds, when the sun shines, and at the correct juncture, whenever whenever there is a perfect plain land, and or there are hills, when these clouds get smashed into those hills, what happens is that these clouds pour out in the form of rain. So here the sun is actually compared to the saintly persons. So there are many comparisons that we see. So what do these saintly persons do? The saintly persons, sometimes we feel that the saint should be, there is a wrong notion in India or in generally the world, a person who is renunciant should not acquire any material sense objects. But Srila Prabhupada has explained to us very beautifully how there is utility the principle. That means, for example, if there is a saint, should he or should he not use the mic? Mic is a material object, but he is utilizing it for Krishna's benefit. So, dovetailing the very material object for Krishna's benefit is a saintly quality that he has. So, the saint never rejects material objects, but he tries to utilize them in spiritual aspects. So, this is the fact that Avaduta Brahmana is trying to say. He's saying that a saintly person may seemingly attract a lot of material objects, just like the sun is collecting a lot of water drops and making it into clouds. But at the right moment, he will give away this water in the form of rain. So, similarly, the saintly person at the right juncture will give away these material objects as well. So, that is what is mentioned in this verse. It says that a saintly person accepts all types of material objects. And how does he accept it? By his material senses. But whenever the appropriate time comes, whenever a person approaches him or requests from this saintly person, please give me, he returns all these material objects. Thus, both in accepting and giving up objects, what happens is he is not entangled. The most brilliant shloka of Bhagavad Gita we remember is from the verse that there are two verses which mentions about the saintly person. One, it says that a saintly person should be like the lotus, the stem of the lotus or the lotus leaf or the lotus plant in itself. It is in the water but not off the water. What does that mean? If you look at a lotus stem, if you go to a pond, if you have been to Mayapur, or there are many lotus ponds that come on the way to Mayapur. And if you look at any, stop at any place, or next time you see a lotus uh, pond, you see just beneath the water, there will be a lot of stems which will be going in and around. There will be a lot of vines, but the lotus leaf will be rightly floating on the top. So, if you take a little drop of water and put it on the lotus leaf, what will happen? The water will start running around. That's what the poets say. Jivana talamala, kamala dala jala. Kamala dala jala, like on the lotus petal or the lotus leaf, if you put a drop of water, the drop of water will be non sticky in property, like a Teflon coating. It will just run around. But if you actually see where is the lotus leaf, it is rightly on the water. Though it is situated in the water, it is not off the water. It is in the water, but it is not off the water. Similarly, the devotees are encouraged to be like that. We are in this material world, we are enjoying the material aspects of this world, but at the same time, we are not engrossed in attaching ourselves into this material world. So, just like the lotus leaf. Similarly, like the tortoise, the kachua, the example that is given. Whenever material sense objects are there, we should retract our sense objects into the shell of the turtle. So, similarly, here a different allegory or a comparison is being made that all these are stopping yourself from attaching to the, all these are examples where it is given where a saintly person is not attaching himself to the material sense objects. But here the example is sometimes he may procure these certain objects, but at the same time, when the time opportunate comes, he will give away this. A very great example of this comes in the story of Yamunacharya. Yamunacharya was also called as Alavandar. Alavandar in Tamil means one who has come to rule. So there was this great competition, and Alavandar or Yamunacharya was just 5 years old. When the king actually put this competition, it's a very big story, we will not go into it. And this Yamunacharya, he was a very great scholar, and he came and presented the very discourse of spiritual uh, tenets in front of the king, and he defeated all the scholars. Just a 5 year old boy, he defeated all the scholars in the kingdom, and hence he was given the title called as Alavandar, the one who has come to rule all of us. And he was given half the kingdom. And slow and steadily, what happened that Yamunacharya became attached to the kingdom duties. Though he was a very great saint, he became attached to the kingdom duties, and he was totally attached, and he was thinking about where to attack, how to spread, and he was totally engrossed in it. Unless one day a person sent a disciple, his spiritual master sent a disciple and told him to feed a particular kind of a spinach sabji every day. And every day that person will come with the spinach sabji and give it to the cook, and the cook will make very nice spinach sabji, saag sabji out of it. and feed it to Yamunacharya. One day, after like this many years, he was eating every day. He was eating saag sabji, and very beautiful and very tasty saag sabji it was. One day, the disciple of his spiritual master, he stopped giving the saag sabji, and Yamunacharya was shocked. Why isn't the saag sabji there in the morning plate? And then immediately he asked, and the cook said, "Today that person has not given the saag sabji." So then immediately he calls for the disciple, and the disciple says that actually there is, I wanted to bring your attention, and I wanted to also bring to your attention a great amount of wealth that your grandfather has left it for you. He said, where is the wealth? He said, it is beyond the seven doors, and you have to go and achieve those wealth. And slowly, one day, he would go behind the disciple towards that treasure hunt where the treasure is there. And every day they will speak Srimad Bhagavatam. No, sorry, Bhagavad Gita. And when every day Bhagavad Gita was spoken, Yamunacharya used to get back all his memories. And at one point of time, when a particular shloka of Bhagavad Gita was spoken, Yamunacharya says, I don't want the treasure anymore. This is the real treasure. He comes back to his originality. So there he leaves all the material objects that he has got. So in this pastime, if you actually see going further, he says, no, no, I want to really show you the treasure. Then Yamunacharya says, no, the treasure is Bhagavad Gita and the saintly qualities. It is my spiritual master who has come and given me this sak sabji, and by which my by this tasting this prasadam my intelligence has grown, and by your association I have got these wonderful verses by which I have got to know that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. He says, no, I will still take you to the treasure. And he takes him to Sri Rangam, opens the seven door, and shows the treasure that the grandfather has actually left you, none other than Ranganath, that is the supreme lord, who is the supreme most treasure. Why this pastime actually matches here is, who is a saintly person? A saintly person is the one who carries the Lord within the heart, and is always engrossed in enduring devotional service for the pleasure of the Lord. At any stage, they will not see a connection of any object or any service which is devoid of devotional service. In fact, I was reading a very beautiful verse written by Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami has written wonderful scriptures, and in that he has written a very wonderful poem called as Hamsa Duta. I do not know if many of you have heard this scripture before. This Hamsa Duta is using the swan. Hamsa means swan. So these swans are not the swans that we see nowadays. So their genus and corpus is very different. Because in the Shastras, the swan has a very peculiar quality that it can differentiate water, not water. It can differentiate somarasa, that is amrit and milk. If you mix both of them, it can separate both of them. And later on, they said that it is water and milk. But nowadays, swans, if you go and keep water and milk, I tried this in London, in near the Kensington Park. There were a lot of swans. I kept water and milk together. They drank the water, they drank the milk. So then we know that this is not the swan that the swans that we are looking at, because the acharyas mentioned these swans were very different, rajahamsas. They are also called as paramahamsas. These swans are compared to the saintly personalities because they can pick up the most important thing from a subject matter and let it go the other subject matters. So here in Hamsaduta also we can see the mind of the gopis, how they are talking to these wonderful swans. They are only interested in Krishna. They are not interested in anything else. So that one pointed intelligence of having Krishna as a center point of their service is the most important thing that we see in all these prayers. So here, coming back to the subject matter, the comparison or the allegory is to the sun. The sun accepts a lot of material objects, or the rain, or the sorry, the water drops, and disperses the water as rain at the right place. Similarly, a saintly person accepts a lot of material objects, but he is not attached to it. He gives it back at an opportune time, and he gives it back to the people whenever they require it. What happens by this? By this, he is not entangled by accepting the material objects. What physical learning do we have from this? As a student, as an unmarried person, or as a person who is about to enter into the grihastha life, as we are all listening to this, we should keep this principle always in our heart. We should understand that we should only accept things what is to our quota. What is the basic sloka? In fact, Ramgiri Prabhu has just finished the entire book on Esopanishad. But which is that verse where it says that you should accept only those things which are your quota? The very second verse of Esopanishad, in fact, the first verse after the preface or the introduction of Purnamadaha Purnamidam, the first verse, which is the Ishavasyamidam Sarvam Yatkincham Jagadam Jagat Tena Taktena Bhunjita Magrudak Kasyasvedhanam. That entire shloka clearly mentions that we should accept what is important for us, and we should only accept what is our quota. And the best example that is given in this regard is of the mother cow. It eats grass, it eats hay, it eats all the things that is produced to it, and it produces very wonderful milk. And the milk, it doesn't give only to its calf. It gives what is there for the quota to its calf, but it also gives it to others. So similarly, we should be also like the saintly person who accept material objects, but we should give it up when the right time comes. Srila Prabhupada is a living example while establishing Krishna consciousness. He is to ensure that he is to get into the money matters of ISKCON. Generally, a sannyasi is not supposed to get too much into money matters, is not supposed to get others married, is not supposed to cook or go near a fire. At the same time, he is not supposed to entangle too much with material affairs. But Srila Prabhupada took this pain for Krishna for establishing ISKCON. He gave the right instructions at the right place, and he gave up all these material attachments. At the end, he just had simplest of the possessions, and he was never entangled, because even at the deathbed he was translating Srimad Bhagavatam. So these are the examples, and we have so many examples in our scriptures where such saintly persons accept material things, but they are also ready to give up to the right person. So these are examples where they are compared to the sun. Let's go ahead and see another quality of the sun that is mentioned, and let us just read that as well before we go to the next guru, which is none other than the pigeon. So let's learn the next shloka 11.7.51. Let us just read the shloka. Buddhyate svena bedhena vyaktistha iva tadgata lakshate sthula mathibhir atma chavastito rakhavat. Translation: even when reflected in various objects, the sun is never divided, nor does it merge into its reflection. Only those with dull brains would consider the sun this way. Similarly, although the soul is reflected through different material bodies, the soul remains undivided and non material. What a brilliant example is being given by the Avaduta Brahmana. And look at the way he is actually seeing Mother Nature. The first thing when we do is when we actually raise up from our bed, the two things that happen. When we open our eyes, we see through the window whether the sunlight has come up. If the sunlight has come up, then very good, congratulations, we have missed our Mangalarati. But if the sunlight has not come up, then we are little happy. Okay, let us see the time, whether it is 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. So the first thing that we do is we see whether the sunlight has come up or not. But sometimes when you actually get up and see, the sunlight itself is reflected in various different objects. For example, if you have a pot of water, the sunlight falls on the water and you can see an image of the sun. At the same time, you can see through the windows. Sometimes if you go to some old buildings, they have different colored glasses. Like once in Edinburgh, when I went to London and Edinburgh, there I went to a cathedral. where in the church they had these beautiful painted tipped glasses of red, blue, green, etc. And the sunlight, when it falls through those glasses, it gives various different colors. So, like that, the sunlight falls through various different objects and it gives a various different colors and it gives various different reflections. At the same time, when it falls on a burtan or on a steel or on a glass, the sunlight falls, it produces an image of the sun. But because these are different images or these are different, it is reflected through the different objects. Is that the sun is different? No, the sun is still the same. The sun is never affected by these different reflections that we see. Only a foolish person, here Prabhupada says that only a foolish person will say that the sun has changed because I am seeing in different objects it in different ways. So, just by this observation, look at the intelligence of the Avadhuta Brahmana. He's saying the soul is also reflected in different material bodies like this. But the soul is sometimes in a dog's body and appears in a shape of a dog. Sometimes it is there in an elephant's body and the body is so huge. Sometimes it is there in a human body and you will see a 8 feet 400-pound person. Sometimes it is there in a small bird like body which is very light and it can fly around. The soul can be there in various different bodies, but that soul itself is undivided and at the same time it is non material. That means it is spiritual in nature. It is actually coming from Krishna. And here, this word, Srila Prabhupada establishes this word, Sthulamatibhir, and the meaning is to those whose intelligence is dull. And Srila Prabhupada gives a very nice example. And he says he has seen this happen. So if you read the purport here, Prabhupada says, we have practical experience of a dog urinating on a valuable painting at an outdoor art show. So Prabhupada sometimes gives nice jokes also. He's saying, I have seen this. One person went inside the art gallery and brought a very nice painting and kept it outside. A dog came there, lifted its leg, and started urinating. Why? Because the dog does not know this is a Picasso's painting or this is a Raja Ravi Verma's painting or this is made by Pablo Picasso. Nobody knows. The dog does not know. It just sees that it is a corner and it just lifts its leg and urinates. So, due to the dull intelligence, the dog could not appreciate the actual value of the painting. And how is Srila Prabhupada comparing? He's saying similarly, unless one takes to Krishna consciousness, one is grossly misusing the invaluable opportunity of human life. Prabhupada stresses this point again and again and again. And this should be like worn like a garden of necklaces around our neck, that we are in this human form of life. And even though we might be devotees, we are chanting our rounds, we are there in the movement, we have heard we are not this body, we are a spirit soul, Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. We have to constantly remember this, that human life is meant for self realization and we should not waste our time. And I would like to read this paragraph because this is the paragraph last 2 weeks, or in fact last 4.5 to 5 weeks, the whole world and in United States they are quarreling because of not understanding this simple paragraph that Srila Prabhupada has written. What is it written? Human life is meant for self realization, and we should not waste time bickering over material designations such as I am capitalist, I am communist, I am American, I am Russian, and so on. In fact, in the last few weeks, there was atrocities committed towards one race or one ethnicity of people in the United States, and one of those races and ethnicities of people of different color was brutally killed by the police force, due to which the whole world was doing saying that the Black Lives Matter. And if you actually look at Instagram and all these social media, people talk about Black Lives Matter. Of course, Black Lives Matter, But black, white, brown, these are just designations of the human color and ethnicity. As a spirit soul, we are all same and we are all undivided and non-material. If at all the world can understand this particular shloka, that just like the sun is reflected in different forms and different ways, similarly the soul is residing in different bodies, then such fights and such atrocities will never happen. And that is what Srila Prabhupada is saying here. Instead, all people should take to loving devotional service of God and realize their eternal pure identity. One should understand the sun by observing its direct manifestation and not its by distorted reflection on material objects. Please read this word very carefully. Prabhupada uses the word distorted. That means that the sun rays which are coming and hitting on an object, that object is not reflecting the sun also properly, it is reflecting it distortedly. That means some shape, some form, some luminosity, some intensity, some light, it is actually not reflected in the right way. Still the sun is undivided. Similarly, our thoughts, our actions, our viewpoints, our opinions, our color, our physicality, our morality, all these might be distortedly available in various living entities. But we should consider, what does Prabhupada say? One should consider every living being in terms of his pure spiritual identity. That means we have to develop this vision that every single soul that we see is part and parcel of Krishna, beyond the distorted manifestation of material designations. Some person might be of a different color like black, some person might be of a different color like brown, some person might be pink, some person might be red, person might have a different hair color, some person might have two legs, some person might be on a wheelchair. But all these human beings, animals, we should see, try to see the spirit soul within them. So this is a very, very important subject matter that we have to actually see. Without understanding this, it is very difficult for us to realize that we are a spirit soul. So here there is a beautiful example. Whenever uh, this incident of ethnicity or racism comes up, I always remember a very beautiful incident which happened in our Krishna conscious movement, which was shared by one of my South African god brother and god sisters. This was a time when back in South Africa there was this ethnic apartheid as a movement where due to color people were trying to fight against each other, and the people of the white skin will actually fight with people who are of the darker skin, and they will fight constantly and they will pick up arms because they used to feel exploited by one skin race over the other. And this was such a puny fight that based on the skin color people used to fight against each other, and this was also fight for resources. So there was this time when in the South Africa temple, I think South Africa or Kenya, in the temple there was a pujari, and this pujari was worshipping Radha Krishna deities. And this Radha Krishna deities Aarti time was going on. Somebody had told this message to one of the darker colored men who were fighting for this apartheid war or this skin color war, that there are a lot of riches in the temple. So all these people came thinking that this ISKCON is nothing but a white man's organization, and all these people are white men and are doing atrocities against the darker skin. So let us go and plunder the loot of the temple. So they came with a lot of guns and everything, and they came and they entered the temple at that time. 12 p.m. was the Aarti or the Rajbhog Aarti which was going on. At that time, there were not many people in the temple hall. They all fled, and the temple pujari did not know whether to complete the arati or to get or to die from the bullet of this chief. So, this chief of this dark colored person, a black Afro American, he actually stepped forward with a gun and he kept right at the temple. In the temple, kept the gun on the temple of this pujari, and he said, "What is happening?" And he did not know what to do. He was thinking that this is the last time I'm going to chant Hare Krishna, and after this, I'm going to die. and he closed his eyes and started praying all the Srimad Bhagavatam shlokas that he know. And suddenly one man said, "We should plunder all the loot in this temple." And the chief said, "No, this seems like a perfect place." This pujari, who was white in color, who was actually from United Kingdom, he was thinking, what is this person saying? He opened his eyes and he said, "What are you saying?" He said, "Look at their deities. Their deities are none other than there is a white woman with a black boy. So this is the perfect. The black boy has married a white woman. This is the perfect sense of harmony. This is what we want. So they are on the right frame of mind. So we should not plunder this place and we should go away." So look at the way Krishna inspires these different devotees, because there was a black Krishna there, because he was standing as a black deity, and the white lady was none other than Srimati Radharani giving a very nice flower garland. He even said, "Look at the white woman is serving the black man." So this is even better. So in the spiritual world, we love the color which is black. We love this color which is there. Even if you actually put a very nice golden necklace on a very fair looking lady or a man, it will not look that good. But if you put the same golden necklace on a very darkish colored personality, it will actually glitter. In fact, the gold will glitter much better when it is on Krishna's neck. So we always have this phrase, tall, dark, and handsome. So here we should constantly understand, as the world is turmoiling between this ethnicity, race, color, etc., we as the students of Srimad Bhagavatam, we as people who are there on Instagrams, should not become one of the other activists just like the others putting Black Lives Matter and putting it. No, for us, all lives matter, whether it's black, white, red, brown, whatever are the colors. All lives, all animals, all living, all non living, everything matters, because our vision is that everything is connected towards Krishna. Everything is connected with Krishna. This is the understanding that we have to see. And the understanding that we have is this is the best example. In fact, we should use the social media to preach this message, that just like the sunlight is distorted due to various different material reflections, material bodies, different spirit souls take different material bodies, but the spirit soul is undivided and non-material in nature. It is spiritual in nature. Such a beautiful understanding which was given by Avaduta Brahmana to King Yadu holds good even now, even in the practical community of what we are seeing today. Any fights, any atrocities, we should always remember the example of the sun. So, such is the richness of the spiritual knowledge. It is always fresh and it is always applicable whenever we want to use it. So here in this particular shloka, Krishna, he is mentioning this quality, and he also says the absolute truth cannot be perfectly understood by the covered mind of the conditioned souls. One should see the Lord through sky of pure Krishna consciousness. So this is another very important learning that we have to learn, which is the fact that this understanding cannot be gained by everybody immediately, even though we try to preach to them. Slowly, when they accept the spectacles of Krishna consciousness and see the world through the eyes of the Shastras, only then they will be able to see. Only then they will be able to see the pure hand of Krishna behind everything. So, this is the another wonderful learning that we hear from the Avaduta Brahmana. Quickly, we'll go to the next guru as well. Once he finishes the sun, he immediately turns his attention towards the last guru of this chapter before Srimad Bhagavatam takes another chapter. And this chapter, now he is going slowly from all the inanimate matter to animate living entities. And the first example that he takes is of the pigeon, the first living entity that he takes the example of the pigeon. So let's just see what we can learn from the pigeon. I hope everybody in Bombay would have at least seen the pigeon. And when they would have seen the pigeon, What can they learn? Avaduta Brahmana is actually saying here. So let's just read this. Nati sneha prasango va kartavya kwapi kenachit kurvan vindeta santapam kapotha iva deenadhi. Kapotha. Kapota means the pigeon. We should also sometimes pick up Sanskrit words that we should always learn. So here it said one should never indulge in excessive affection or concern for anyone or anything. Otherwise, one will have to experience great suffering, just like the foolish pigeon. So here he is mentioning about the example of pigeon, and he's saying we should never indulge in excessive affection or concern for anyone or anything. And the beautiful examples we will see hereafter, that how, and he narrates this entire pastime of the pigeon. And let's just see the story of the pigeon. Avaduta Brahmana says once there was a pigeon, a male pigeon and a female pigeon, obviously like husband and wife. The wife pigeon was very expert in seducing the husband pigeon to get whatever necessities she wants. And the husband pigeon was so lost in the male pigeon was so lost in love and affection, excessive affection towards the female pigeon, that the minute she sneezes or she wants something, the male pigeon will get it. If she wants any material attachment, he will undergo many endeavors to get it for the female pigeon. Nowadays, we see in the Bollywood movies, this is how stars are depicted. The male member of the person will go to whatever heights they want to take care of the female. If she wants this, they will go jump from the 15th floor of the building and try to get her something. So this is constantly shown of how the servitude activity of the male pigeon is. So the male pigeon used to get everything for the female pigeon, and they used to be constantly in love, and they used to always think that they have a very beautiful home. They used to create a very nice nest for themselves. They used to stay in that nest, and they used to live very peacefully. As the sun rises and the sun sets, they used to talk to each other, and they used to be engaged in sweet loving talks, romantic talks with each other. And they thought that tomorrow is ours. Hum honge kamyab, we will be always successful, we will be all wonderful. And they used to be always thinking like this. In their romantic fervor, they got some young birds as well. They got some few eggs, and from the eggs hatched their young fledglings. And these young fledglings started immediately to ask for food and water, and every day they used to see their young ones, and they used to feel very happy. So when they were growing up, these young fledglings, they wanted more and more food and water. So these both this mama and papa bird used to always go out and for long time used to search for food, and they used to collect food and then come back to the nest. And like this they were spending time and time and time, never worrying about what the future is, because they thought that the present is so beautiful, and there is so much joy coming out of the young fledglings, out of the children, out of the out of the young ones, and sweet talks of the wife, and they were very happy. Until one day when the father bird and the mother bird went long distance to get some food, there was a hunter who saw these young fledglings or these young baby birds actually making sound in the nest, and he threw the net and captured all these young birds. And when the mother bird returned and she saw that her young ones are not there, she became very perturbed. She was always attached to things, and she was always conditioned in a way that whatever she wished, the male pigeon will give. Now, the male pigeon had not returned, and she saw where her fledglings were. She was very, very much affected, and she saw that below the hunter was standing there with all these young fledglings caught in the net. She was totally worried. She was thinking, what am I without my young ones? And she fell into the trap of the hunter. In fact, the young fledglings were calling for the mother, and the mother, being totally affectionate, she went to the young fledglings and she got caught in that. And when she got caught in that, she was thinking, how foolish I am. I was thinking that I these are my young ones, but I cannot even help them to escape. I cannot even help them. I did not use my intelligence. I lost my intelligence by actually coming into the net. I cannot help them. In fact, I am trapped myself. Then the male pigeon came, and the male pigeon came and saw that his wife, who was very dear to him, and also his young fledglings, both of them were caught by the hunter. And the male pigeon was thinking, what is the use of my life? My all my enjoyment were these people, and if I am left alone, I will die. So let me also jump into the net. And he also jumps into the net. So now the whole family seemingly seems like they are together, but very soon they are going to be consumed by the hunter. Seemingly they are all together, but they are very soon, they have not understood that they have not used their intelligence. If some of them would have used the intelligence, they could have driven away the hunter and saved everyone. But they don't use the intelligence. They actually go and fall into the net, and they all fall into the doomsday. So this is actually not a positive lesson. This is a negative lesson. So lessons are learned by the Avaduta Brahmana in both ways. There are positive lessons to be learned of how to conduct life. There are also negative lessons to be learned how not to conduct. Both are principles of learning. So here Avaduta Brahmana is actually citing the negative lesson of pigeon and saying how we should not be so much attached to family material life. Just like the pigeon, if we are over concerned ourselves for our material qualities and our material attractions, then we don't become grihastha, we become grihamedi. Grihamedi means one who is only attached to the sense gratification and is not keeping Krishna in the center. Now, one may say that we have not become grahasthas yet, but we are training to become grahasthas, or we are training to become, as we become grahasthas, as most of you are on this call. As you become grahasthas, this training is inculcated right from the start that the center of the family is none other than Krishna. If we are studying, we should always remember we are studying for Krishna. If we are earning money, now we have studied past our examinations, now we are earning money, we are earning money for Krishna. It's not that we are earning money to get the best of the internet connections, best of the clothings, best of things for looking ourselves happy. No, then that is the pigeons mentality. Having, if you know the pigeons are known to be attracted towards sex life. In fact, they have the largest amount number of sex lives in a day. So here the pigeons example is very apt, because the highest pleasure in material world is sex, and that is what they are actually attracted to. But what does that lead them to? It leads them to a trap of the hunter, which is none other than compared to as death. So the young family of pigeons might be very attracted to their sense gratification and not involved in their any kind of pious activities. But here the Avaduta Brahmana is telling Yadu that if we become like the pigeon, if we become like Grihamedis, then the hunter called death will come one day, and it will snatch away all these material objects. Hence, it is more important to learn from the pigeon to be not like the pigeon, to learn from the pigeon that we should not be like living the life like a pigeon, and we should be living our life in a way where Krishna is in the center, where everything we speak about, everything we talk about, can we bring Krishna at least in the back of our mind, at least can we think. And that is the mood of the gopis. They don't speak anything which is not concerned with Krishna. I'll give you a very simple example, a very, very beautiful example. And as I was saying, I wanted to leave this at the end, where how one's thought can be very beautifully, and that is how our poets and acharyas, they train their mind in such a way that every second they are thinking about Krishna. So this is a verse which is there from Sri Rupa Goswami's Hamsa Duta, where Hamsa, the swan, is made a messenger, and the messenger swan is being told by Lalita that you please go to Dwaraka and give this message. The Hamsa swan is asking, how do I know who is Krishna? So the Lalita is actually thinking about all the things about Krishna, and is telling the swan that you please go and give this message that we are suffering here and you are in Dwarka and you are not coming down here. So in separation, they are seeing everything connected to Krishna. So in that, there is one shloka where Lalita mentions the 10 beautiful incarnations of the Lord. Now you might be thinking that what are the 10 incarnations of the Lord? Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Nrsimha, Vamana, Parashurama, Srirama, Balarama, Buddha, and Kalki. These 10 incarnations of the Lord, why are they speaking to the swan? Look at, and they are not directly connected to Krishna because they are all incarnations of Krishna. But why is Lalita speaking to a swan about 10 incarnations? At that time, you will get to know that what is the mood of the gopis and how they always think about Krishna. She says, I will only mention about two particular verses here, and you can just get to know how they think about Krishna always. The first verse she says, actually, Krishna, you swan, you please fly to Dwarka, and when you meet Krishna, you address him as Matsya. Matsya means fish. So Swan says, okay, I'll address him as Matsya. I should glorify, right? He is the one who protected the Vedas. He is the one who protected the Saptarishis. He took the boat and he towed the boat across the Pralaya ocean. These things I have to say, right? Lalita says, no, this is not what you have to say. You please address him as you are the Matsya who was swimming in the ocean of sorrow that you created in Radhika's heart, in Srimati Radharani's heart, and you were supposed to tie and tow Srimati Radharani and all our hearts towards you, but you killed, you actually severed off that tie of that boat, and we actually, as a fish, we gave you the bait means the small fish that you put at the end and put it at the fishing rod. We gave you the bait of love, and you as a fish, you went and caught the bait, ate the bait, and never came up. You are actually that Matsya, like that you glorify. So now if you actually see, this is not glorification, this is actually giving gali to Krishna, that you left us and went, and you are called as Matsya. So such is the thoughts when this is on another extreme. But what I'm trying to say is that look at the thoughts how they get matured as we love a single person called as Krishna. Such is the thoughts that gopis are having on a constant basis when they actually talk to each other, speak to each other. And such thoughts cannot come if our attention span is still on material objects. So as soon we move away from material objects or we dovetail those things to material objects, what is the best way to do it? Be with people, be with association of devotees, be always talking to devotees who are dovetailing it in a nice way. For example, if you are good at singing and dancing, and if you are not, if somebody else is good at painting, it's an acquired skill that how they can actually trade off with each other. We are not trying to become the best dancer amongst the Seawoods group. We are not trying to become the best singer amongst the Seawoods group. What we are trying to become is a good devotee that we can offer and stand before Krishna and say, I am yours. That is what pleases Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas and all the spiritual masters. So the learning that we get from the pigeon is not to be over excessively attached to anything or over excessive emotions towards anything. What we should be constantly endeavoring is that we should not have excessive affection or concern for anyone or anything. Another beautiful example that we can learn from Ramayana is a very simple fact of how Dasharath gave over excessive affection to Kaikeyi, brought his own death. That is one of the very beautiful examples which you can correlate here. So we should not become Grihamedis, we should become Grihasthas. So from the example of sun, we can see the soul is in different bodies and different distorted deflections of the sun, but at the same time, it is undivided and non-material. The sun accepts many material objects and gives it back at the right time. Similarly, a saintly person accepts a lot of material objects and gives it back to the right person at the right time. These are the two learnings that we learn from the sun. And from the pigeon, we learn that we should not be excessively attached and we should not show over concern on anything. That means we should live a perfect, harmonious spiritual life. We should live a grihastha life and not a grihamedi life. And how do we lead a grihastha life? By keeping Krishna in the center of all our activities. These are the two spiritual masters that the Avadhuta Brahmana today speaks about, and we learn from them. The next is Python, which we will see next week. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. If there are any questions or comments, we can discuss. Any questions or comments? No questions? Are we supposed to find verse on pigeon? Finding verses on pigeons might be difficult, but you can try. But you can find verses on birds also. Twija. Birds are also like in Ramayana we have Ma Nishada Pratishtam Tomagamaha Madana Shashwati Samayat Krauncha Mitana Devam. Krauncha, which are the cranes or the storks. We can talk about that. Yes, but you will get some verses. Even one or two are good. But yes, if you find an pigeon, very wonderful. You'll be surprised that pigeons are also used as messengers. So gopis might have used them as messengers. Swans, as I said, Hamsa, bird is used as a messenger. So you should get some verses. Searching Google is easy. So you should find some verses. Any other question? On the sun and on pigeon. Otherwise, how are you all guys doing? I- Are you guys okay? How are you guys doing spiritually, materially, morally? Yes. Good. That's one answer. Two. Yeah. Fantastic. Great. If there are no questions, no comments, we are all, I'm also doing good. I'm doing fine. The lockdown has done good. Much better health. Please take care of yourself. Don't let your guard down. Things are looking up, but but please take care of your health. Yeah. Don't let the hunter come and catch the net on you guys. Stay inside, stay home, and stay with Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna.